Nikkyo is a technique of Aikido when you obtain control over uke by influencing the wrist joint at a certain angle from a certain position. The wrist joint or radiocarpal joint is the joint between the radius and the carpals, which are the bones of the hand and the forearm. Technically, the influence on the wrist joint must result in stinging discernment in perception of uke, which they cannot ignore, causing reflective reaction of escaping the pain. Common attitude to the control is that control of Aikido, as in other martial arts, is a form of punishment execution. You press on the joint and deliver pain over an opponent. In this lesson, we will see that it is not quite true. We will consider major details of the Nikkyo technique sequence, skills development exercises, and we will also approach the foundational principles of control in Aikido to deliver the values of the practice. First of all, you need to know that control does not equal pain. Control of Nikkyo is actually not about causing pain and control in the result of this pain. Control of Aikido is rather about how you create conditions for uke when they have to choose between pain and escaping the pain. This is the cornerstone of our Aikido control execution, which is foundationally different from what people usually perceive and practice. By escaping the pain, they go the way you want them to follow. Only if this is the right way, good for uke because you care, will they follow, and you will resolve the conflict. Regardless of all the details of the instructions, you have to find your way with your own search. Use these guidelines to find the way of responsible leadership. The basic Nikkyo sequence is based on the Tenkan. You remember that the Tenkan is not just a body rotation. Tenkan is the skill which is based on the set of concepts and principles concerning body movements and structuring. Watch lesson number 9 of the basic positions and movement sections for more details. We start learning the Nikkyo technique with the help of the forearm grip. So the more precise name for the technique we will examine in this lesson is the Katata Tori Nikkyo Ura variation. Uke comes to grab your forearm. Your first action is about creating the conditions for the Nikkyo form of controlling uke. With one single action, you need to turn the wrist of uke and take the appropriate position. The basis of this maneuver is the Tenkai movement. Before performing the maneuver, make sure the distance is correct. Too close. Correct distance. Remember the Tekatana Seigan position to find the distance and avoid struggle with the first action. You turn the wrist and take the position besides uke with the tenkai movements. You step forward with the back foot and complete the turn to take the strategic position. With the right position, you are hidden behind uke and you're looking at the same direction with uke. Before turning the wrist of uke, create the conditions for them to avoid any possibility to pull their arm back. You must provide continuous absorbing affect for uke. Invite them by creating no resistance to their arm action. Observe it. Your action must be neutral to the curve of their arm structure so that you could easily turn their wrist. Do not pull or push. Do not go to the sides. Follow the curve of their arm structure so that uke feels no danger to the realization of their intentions. You create the I element or merging affect. Uke must feel only their intentions are being realized when the I element is being established by you. You follow the movement, creating no resistance to the curve of the arm structure. You step forward with your back leg and turn uke's wrist at the same time. Notice that you sacrifice the structure of your arm to perform the maneuver. So the tekatana is not working here. Escape the wrist turn part where you have to be accurately insisting not to jeopardize the stability of the arm curve in uke's perception. Following the curve of uke's arm structure is the primary objective in this technique. Tekatana application has no value here. Instead, it will create additional influence, cause uke's protective reaction, and prohibits you from taking the strategic position you need to establish for the control. Just look. The tekatana application creates sideways influence over the arm curve of uke. It also increases time of taking the position, and you never hope that uke would experience such influence without any additional reaction. You merge, you avoid resistance. There is no you in the first movement. Uke must feel no danger to their plan unless you take the strategic position and establish the control. Feeling no danger by uke allows you to turn the wrist. If you follow the arm curve when taking the strategic position, uke may not even feel something has happened to the position of their wrist. If you understand the idea of no resistance, turning the wrist will be easy, and it should be easy. If it is hard, it is the vivid indicator you did not follow the curve of the grabbing arm. Right before the movement, you fix the grip with the other hand for the control goals. Do not press, just put it over. You do it right before stepping forward with your back leg. You can perform this movement rather fast. Check the position after the turn. You are not standing far in front of uke. You are standing beside and behind uke, looking at the same direction. There is another important detail of the position. Make sure the support arm, the one which performs the fixation, goes under the attacking arm of uke. It prohibits uke's elbow from going down and helps to establish solid control. Examine the curvedness of your arm structures. All three involved arms are bent. Your elbows are gravitating towards your torso to execute the power of the center more effectively. The grip must be always in the front plane of the center. Within your rotation, you never allow the grip to leave the front plane of your center, or you will lose the control and would reflexively strive for compensation, the lack of control with your muscle strength. Avoid muscle strength application. Examine how proper body structuring and positioning allows you to use the power of the center. When you take the position, the complete control must be established. Before you obtain the strategic position, uke possesses 100% of initiative. You merge so that uke does not even feel the effect of your action. Now, with the strategic position, everything changes to the opposite. You take 100% of influence due to the control establishment. you are patient, selfless, and skillful to hide your ego for the mutual good. Now this is your reward to guide the established system with your control. The tension and sensitivity are available due to your positioning and body structure. The mutual backward step is the first action of your control execution after I element has been established. Control through the tension means your every little move influences uke. Therefore, you have merged and you move, both of you, like a single system. You do not move separately from uke. This is the essence of the established control. You maintain this control due to the proper positioning and body structuring. You never step backward by yourself, even a tiny distance. You make your uke move together with you. You increase the pressure on the wrist joint of uke by rotating your wrist, and you step backward simultaneously. So the movement incorporates two elements performed simultaneously: wrist rotation and stepping backward. All the way during the movement, you are censoring and using the established tension to lead your uke to the half-standing position. You do not initiate the movement by pushing down the grip. You move in the horizontal plane and eventually lead downwards. Be patient with this detail, because you will confront your instinctive reflexive here to push down. Avoid that. We will consider more details later in this lesson when we start developing the sensitivity in Nikkyo performance and examine the mechanics of the influence. After the mutual backward step, you maintain the control by standing close to the knee of uke. Check the position. This is where you have to be. When bringing uke to the half-standing position, uke may step onto any of the knee, but it is better to step onto the knee which is closer to nage for uke balance purposes. So uke must be in contented half-standing position, but unable to move. The amount of pressure you apply must not cause pain. Uke must feel a warning tension, telling them about the painful experience waiting for them in case of any movement. It is not the pain that controls, but the expectation of pain you make their ego to believe in, and it is real in their perception. You remember that such tension is provided by the proper positioning and proper body structuring, not direct muscle influence. This is the technical foundation of the SAA approach. From this position of control, you insert the fork in the shoulder area closer to the elbow and rotate uke for landing on the ground. In order to start rotation, you need to change the grip first without losing the control. By the way, both grips change before the system rotation, but it is the blade hand which is in our focus here. First of all, pay attention to the thumbless hand blade, which influences the wrist joint. The reliance of this influence and control is provided by the fixation of the other hand. When the fixing hand goes forking the elbow for the rotation, you do not have the wrist control anymore. Therefore, before going for the elbow, activate your thumb. Grab and control the position of uke's forearm. Then you go to the elbow with your other hand and start rotation. With the correct grip change, you have solid control when you lead the system. Full grip control of the forearm near the wrist area, and shoulder control with a fork grip near the elbow. When leading the system, you apply the tenkan as the engine of rotation and apply the structure of your arms. As always, the stance structure and the arms form are applied when influencing uke. Although your standard procedure in leadership is based on the tenkan rotation, you have to be sensitive enough to change the direction of leading when required. The most vivid indicator for you to identify the direction is the knee positioning of uke. Where it is the standard variation and the knee uke stands on is the closer one to you, then you perform the rotation. If it is the opposite knee they stand on, you would lead forward without rotation to the direction they cannot resist falling down. Do not hurry. Identify the situation and lead uke, escaping resistance, unless they fall down. This part of the lesson is dedicated to develop your technical sensitivity to Nikkyo performance. The movement concepts we'll consider here will help you develop your body memory and build appropriate reflexes to perform Nikkyo technique. Do not confuse these forms of actions with the sequence of movements. Treat these movement concepts as the developing exercises aimed to master Nikkyo performance. When performing Nikkyo, you must learn to avoid direct muscle strength influence on the wrist joint. According to our belief, control based on the pain convoy is not the control of Aikido for several reasons. First of all, in our game setting, Nage, unlike Uke, is not willing to cause pain or any harm. Causing pain is not the aim of Nage. Perception of pain by uke can be only the means to establish the control. From another side, pain convoy, besides pain itself, does not guarantee control. Instead, uke would rather escape pain by any means, which will be always jeopardizing the control establishment. In order to establish the control of Aikido, you need to learn to apply your body structure appropriately. In this part of the lesson, we'll perform a couple of exercises aimed to provide you with the right idea of Nikkyo control execution. You take uke's hand in Aihanmi situation and circle around to the top position. Pay attention that you put your thumb over uke's thumb. You must monitor and be aware that your thumb does not go inside the uke's hand. By reaching the top position, you must always create the tension along the arm structure of uke. Uke does not resist. In order to create all the necessary conditions for the control execution, including the tension, you must meet all the requirements of the stance structure and the Tegetana principles. The grip you establish must be always in the front plane of your center while you circle to the top position. in the top position, you must always find uke in the front plane of your center. Then you can start influencing uke in the wrist joint area with the established construction of your body. When influencing uke, you must not jeopardize the integrity of your body construction by moving your wrist, bending your arm, or tensing your shoulder, reflexively trying to apply your muscle strength. You rather gradually transform the weight of your body construction onto the wrist joint of uke. This is the correct mindset. You must build this tension and educate your body to behave accordingly. Once again, you must construct your body and lean forward in such a way that you transform the weight of your body construction gradually onto the wrist joint of uke. Created tension and the weight of the construction will leave uke no choice but to succumb to the influence. This is the mechanics of the influence, where there is no direct muscle strength application in your attempt to press on the wrist joint. The application of body construction is the focus of our exercise here. But better understanding of uke's hand positioning in the top position will increase the efficiency of the wrist joint influence. By reaching the top position, make sure uke's arm structure is bent and the palm plate is located in the vertical position. Generally, you need to know the etalon hand position you must be attempting to achieve in the top position. So the etalon is this. The palm plate is in vertical position or perpendicular to the floor, and it is looking to the spine of uke. Why spine, not torso? Because it will give you more accurate idea about the hand positioning. With this influence, it is okay that your body construction will experience pressure. But you have muscles to endure this pressure. Use your muscles to preserve the construction and use the construction to influence uke. This is the golden rule of our methodology of technical base in Aikido. Discover the efficiency of this approach with the patience of your practice. In most cases, your arm structure will experience the greatest pressure. You can avoid this weak link by using your head and spine structure to influence the wrist joint, especially when your partner is stronger than you. But eventually, learn to use your Tegatana arm structure to perform this exercise. This exercise is essential in giving you the correct perception and mindset in the body structure application, in the Nikkyo controlled execution. Pressing down on the wrist joint is a very primitive vision of the movement mechanics. Besides, it is wrong. You do not ever press down. The nature of your working hand movement is the snake wrapping movement. In order to extend your perception, imagine that your hand is not limited with the fixation and you can move your hand along the forearm like a snake. Snake cannot press on something, it moves and it wraps. You have to understand the movement extension in order to build your correct intention for the required effect. You have to consider carefully the way you try to influence uke. In many cases, the way you imagine your actions is different from what you should really do. When you have considered the horizontal type snake wrapping movement, you are ready to pay your attention to the hand blade effect. Your wrapping movement must create and make uke sit down to the half standing position. Technically, your hand blade influences uke's wrist joint while it starts wrapping the forearm. Your hand structure goes horizontally, screwing along uke's forearm. With the tension created in the wrist area, you would lead uke down. It is not only one hand that influences uke. It is always the whole body structure that is involved in the process. Besides the concept of the whole body involvement, in Nikkyo performance we have to consider a particular backward step, which is integral part of the technique mechanics. Together with the snake wrapping movement of your hand, you step backward without body rotation and lead uke downward to the half standing position. Consider solo performance of the backward step in order to clarify the details of the movement. You stand in the Tenkai based position with the deep positioning of your pelvis with the proper weight distribution, where your front leg is weightless. You make a little step up with your front foot. Transfer some weight onto the front foot in order to push yourself backwards. With the weight distribution, your pillar body structure, which is based on the back leg, becomes light for a moment. This moment is for the step backward. With the weight distribution, your pillar body structure, which is based on the back leg, becomes light for a moment. This moment is for the step backward. The critical detail here is that you perform the backward step without any body rotation. When you have examined the movement, proceed learning the technique with your partner. Make the snake wrapping and backward step one single movement of your control execution. It is not the pain that controls uke. You create the conditions for uke where they come under your control as an act of pain avoidance. Then the conditions you impose make uke controllable. It means uke realizes they would experience pain if they move, trying to escape the imposed control. It is a totally different mindset from what people usually think about the control of Aikido. It is wrong to impose pain with your actions, trying to control uke. Instead, uke will be looking for the ways to escape pain, which will always jeopardize such control. Obtaining the right mindset, body structure, and positioning will allow you to practice the control of Aikido, the one we practice at the academy. Therefore, we need to consider the integrality of control for proper control execution in your Aikido practice. The perception of uke must be, it will be painful for me to move out, rather than it is painful to stay in the situation they have put me in. It is not the pain that directly controls uke, but the fear of pain. You will need to understand it and act accordingly. You need technical provision for such kind of control. Therefore, we will consider the impact of your control execution on the whole body of uke, not just a particular joint. In this part of the lesson, we consider the same sector of the technique performance as in the mechanics of the influence. The hints of this part will help you increase the efficiency of your Nikkyo performance, as they will address the body control awareness, not only the wrist joint influence. In Aikido techniques, regardless of the situational technical connection, we address the whole body of uke for control or leadership goals. Together with the Tenkai rotation, when establishing the strategic position, make effort to bend Uke's arm structure. If Uke does not have martial art experience, or for any other reason, it may happen that their arm structure might be unreasonably tensed and straight. Straight arm is actually not natural for an attacker due to their protective instinct. If present, Uke will have to amend this detail with the practice. But still, it is possible to perform Nikkyo control technique in this case with the straight arm, but the quality of the control will suffer. The straight arm will allow to influence the wrist joint, but the whole body control will be loose. You will have to squeeze faster, which is injury vulnerable and not reliable for the control, as Uke has a lot of space for maneuver when trying to escape the painful pressure. After the Tenkai rotation, if your Uke is too tensed and keeps their arm straight, use the hook of your wrapping hand and your lower arm to adjust your partner's arm structure. Fix and adjust the arm between your arms. Remember that your second or supportive arm is under the attacking arm. It is an additional movement, but it is affordable as Uke limits themselves with unreasonable rigidity of their body structure in this case. It is very desirable that you make sure of the proper state or make adjustments if necessary when Uke keeps their attacking arm straight to have greater access to the whole body for control and guidance with the following backward step. Pointing to the right spot will help you make the wrapping movement more accurate. With the backward step and wrapping move, your index finger must be directed to the solar plexus area. With the backward step, to achieve the proper effect connected with the tension maintenance, you may go closer to the from the solar plexus to the armpit. Much depends on the flexibility of the joints of Uke. You must maintain the level of necessary tension with the backward step for control and guidance goals. The directing finger and the hand blade are interconnected. The directing finger concept is aimed to add the accuracy to the hand blade influence onto the wrist joint. Aim to wrap the forearm with the directing finger concept, and you will learn to influence the wrist joint more efficiently. After the backward step, you obtain the strategic position. Technically, your foot must be closer to the posted knee of uke, and both of you are looking at the same direction. There are two values in this position, which actually makes this position strategically beneficial. First, this position allows you to maintain control of uke with the structure of your body. Second, you are allocated in a safe place in relation to uke, and it is also the best possible place in relation to any other possible opponent other than uke. The offered correct positioning here is the best answer to the technical provision for the Zanshin principle. So, correct positioning allows painless execution of efficient control and technical provision for threat awareness from any third party. You regulate the tension over the wrist joint to lead uke to the target position with a single backward step. You must envision the target position to develop the accuracy of your action. Only practice can help you develop the right perception of the position so that you perform the Nikkyo control technique with greater confidence. Depending on a situation, you may choose to avoid the technique at any stage of execution. The reasons can be loss of control, time limitations connected with the presence of another opponent, or probably other. In any case, you need to know the complete procedure of the technique execution to provide yourself with the correct goal setting and flexibility of switching among the techniques when the situation requires. After you have performed the backward step with the Nikkyo control execution, you are ready for the system rotation. Do not hurry to rotate uke. Check your ability to maintain control first. With the right control execution, your uke would not be able to move in the half-standing position. So this is the moment of control you have to check. After you have reassured in the legitimacy of the control, you are ready to proceed. The most important detail here is the direction of further movement. You go in the direction of uke's forearm. You are like continuing screwing along the forearm, and then you must position uke's elbow at the place of their head. You are unbalancing uke with your rotation movement. Remember, it is a cycle move, not just direct execution of the head unbalancing action. It's not direct. You circle. So how do you unbalance uke? You change the grip and lead uke's forearm in the direction where it shows. It means in the horizontal dimension. This is how you should have positioned the forearm with a backward step. Horizontally. Your supportive arm is helping to lead uke's elbow to its target position. You would not change the grip of the supportive arm unless the target position is reached. The target position is reached, you change the grip, you go to the elbow, rotation. In this position, uke is unbalanced and cannot be effective in resistance. It is the moment when you can change the grip of the supportive arm. You control the forearm of uke with your working arm, while the supportive arm is busy going to the shoulder under the elbow and at the same time re-establishing its curved structure to influence uke in the next move of rotation. From the target position, when uke is unbalanced, you rotate the system with the help of your curved arm structures. Do not use your muscle strength to influence uke. Maintain the radius with rotation, which means you keep the radius while you are keeping the curved arm structures with the rotation. Radius maintenance is the hint aimed to help you avoid mistakes at this stage. You rotate and lead uke until they fall down, and you establish the half standing position. In order to help them fall down, you may have to leverage their extended arm after the system rotation. Rotation, extended arm structure. Usually they fall down. But what if they are very reactive and they are very active, looking for the base to resist? you perform the rotation with the help of the arm forms, and you use the same arm forms to leverage the extended arm structure to lead them down. You do not ever follow the temptation of using your muscles to press your uke down. At some point, when rotation is no longer effective, like this, your uke may find some steady base to resist from going down. If it happens, you find the indicator to identify the direction of leadership, as was discussed earlier in this lesson, and initiate the leveraged influence onto the extended arm if needed. When applying the leverage influence with the help of your arm structure, you lean your weight onto the elbow grip area and absorb the wrist grip area. It is one single movement affecting two grip points at the same time in two opposite directions, up and down. When uke falls down, you establish the half-standing control immediately. Their chest area must be on the ground. Your closer knee must be located under the armpit. Keep their arm extended. The wrist grip must stay the primary reason for the arm extension. The wrist must be kept in the corner of the pelvis area. You manage the control by regulating your weight allocation over the extended arm structure. It is possible due to your arm structure's application. When you have established the half-standing control, you step down and establish control in seiza position. Before going down, you change the grip control. The half-standing position is the right moment for this change. When you perform the whole procedure of the technique and you need to prove the control on the ground for delivering the message impression, you need to change the grip for Nikkyo control before going down. From simple wrist grab to the hand-based wrist joint control with the circular movement. Why circular? Because the best way to catch the grip is from beneath with the fork of your hand. When you catch the grip, make sure you put your thumb over uke's thumb. With the new grip, you create tension in the direction of the elbow along the arm structure. Nikkyo control. You lead the extended arm structure with the created wrist tension to the ground. Check the control position while you are in seiza. The closer to uke knee is under the armpit, and the other knee is near the wrist area of the extended arm. You are centered, and most of your weight is distributed onto the elbow area of the extended arm with the help of the elbow connected arm structure. Check for the compliance of all the seiza position requirements, which you can find in the lesson number 2 of the basic positions and movements section. To transfer the impression of the control to uke, you need to increase the tension of your control. The message of the control must be brief and persuasive, telling them about the change. Aggression is something that has to be annihilated in our life. If somebody comes to aggression, there must be a force aimed to tell this person about their inconsistency with the order of the true nature, which is harmony among us. At the moment of control, you become this force and you reveal the message. This control message in action is rather symbolic in the practice of Aikido, and it has a deeper philosophical background, which is to discuss in other than these lessons. Technically, you increase the tension of the hand-wrist joint control in the direction of the elbow along the extended structure of their arm. One thing is the direction, the other is how you do it. And the answer is you do it with the help of your arm structures. And of course, your arm structures influence will be efficient if it is connected with the correctness of the seiza position. Check the legitimacy of the seiza position and increase the tension of the control with the help of your arm structures. Besides the details you can find in the lesson number 2 of the BPM section, the correctness of the seiza position can be described with the 3 major components: straight spine, big belly or pelvis forward, and heels together. Check your seiza. Check your positioning in relation to uke. Check your hand grips. See how many checks you have to do before you increase the tension. Why? Because each check position determines your ability to increase the tension and deliver the correct message. Remember that you are not aiming to hurt uke, to hurt a virtual aggressor, like an action of punishment. You just have to be accurate enough to deliver the message about the necessity to change for better. You lean forward and transfer the power of your weight gradually to the extended arm structure through the structures of your arms. Uke must bounce on the floor rather loudly, and maybe twice, to let you know that they have received your message. Your message will be painful in their perception. It is natural, because demand for change is always suffering in human perception. Such messaging is symbolic in Aikido control practice. You are not utilizing your muscle strength in the control execution directly. Your muscles are used to reassure the appropriate structuring of your body, for your body to become a vehicle or channel of the power of the center. You are aware of the direction, and you are aware of the principles of influence. Practice and experience will do all the rest. We are never sure if the message was actually delivered with the control execution. We must be alert and ever ready. This is the Zanshin principle we have extensively referred to in the basic positions and movement section. We have to be safe when we release uke. In order to perform the release correctly, you must go to the half-standing position while still keeping the wrist grip. So you take your knee from under the armpit of uke and go to the half-standing position. You have a loose control in this position, but it is enough for you to get up for safe distance in standing position. Why is it enough? Because it would require some steps and therefore time for uke to obtain position appropriate for a legitimate attack from the position on the ground when their wrist is fixed and the arm is extended. You cannot move that fast now. And you are not waiting, you are getting up within a moment. When you learn an Aikido technique, you have to realize that integrity of the technique is always under the risk of your natural reflexes involvement. An Aikido technique is the different way of acting. You naturally tend to do things the way you are used to. Such tendencies must be avoided and replaced with the mechanics of the offered technique. It is okay that you may find all the presented movements unusual. And it is okay that you experience a lack of comprehension of such movements. You have to be patient enough to make efforts to perform the movements of the technique while avoiding switching to your natural reflexes. Your natural reflexes will only cause struggle, and the mechanics of Aikido techniques are aimed to avoid struggle. Eventually, with the practice, you will discover that the offered mechanics is the solution and more preferable. Until then, you make efforts to avoid your natural intentions or tendencies concerning the way you influence uke. This part of the lesson is aimed to tell you about the major spots in the technique sequence where your natural reflexes are most likely to be initiated and therefore must be avoided. It happens that you might intend to squeeze the wrist joint as fast as possible when performing Nikkyo technique. Probably you saw it somewhere that people do that fast, or you just intend to finish it as fast as possible because you feel danger. Avoid following such intention. Do not hurry to influence the wrist joint. Pain is not something you intend to deliver to uke. Control does not equal pain. You need the right positioning first. Follow the sequence of movements. The mistake here is that without right positioning, you cannot apply the structure of your arms to influence the wrist joint. The angle will enforce you to use the muscles to press on the wrist joint. In such a way, you're jeopardizing the Tigatana principle. Without the right positioning, you'll have to use your muscles extensively to influence on the wrist joint, which is wrong. At the same time, you can discover two more mistakes that put you in danger. The first one is that the only way you can influence the wrist joint from the wrong position is pushing down, which is actually not the best way to influence uke, for the reasons we have already mentioned. The second is that such fronted position does not secure you from a possible threat coming from another opponent. We'll approach these mistakes for some more insight later in this lesson. Remember, we use our body structure, which creates the leverage effect and requires the least amount of energy, not the muscle strength, to influence uke. Explore the efficiency of the influence with the right positioning. So be patient to rotate first and only then apply the pressure while moving backwards in the horizontal direction. It is natural that when you want to influence, you press or squeeze. You would instinctively push it down. When you perform Nikkyo control after the Tenkai turn, Monitor your actions to avoid the intentions to push down. When you intend to push down, you naturally raise your elbow to push it down. You can even raise your shoulder, which is the same kind of mistake. Rooting from the same intention to push down for the desired effect. In any case, you would utilize your muscle strength and the wrong plane or direction to influence, which is a mistake. Actually, two mistakes. Do not raise your elbow to press onto the wrist joint. Address the backward step and use the horizontal plane with the snake wrapping movement to apply the hand blade accordingly. Instead of backward step, you would rotate your body to influence the wrist joint. Such action would impose the desired effect on the wrist joint, but it will leave you without the strategic position, and further sequence of the technique movements will be unavailable for you. You would not be able to keep the control, and your position will be vulnerable for your another opponent. Also, such positioning relies on the pain influence. You have to press extensively to obtain and maintain the control in such a case. Do not rotate your body. Instead, perform the backward step without body rotation to increase the influence on the joint. Obtain the strategic position and preserve the control. In some cases, you have become so excited with your Nikkyo correct performance that you hurry to push uke down when you manage to take the strategic position. In case of pushing onto uke directly, you would initiate your muscle strength, and you would most likely to push onto uke's posted leg to take down, which is far from being effective. As the result, you would not be able to further address the structure of your arms, to rotate the system to lead uke to the half-standing control. Monitor your intentions not to spoil your Aikido technique. Most often, the reason for such mistake is your feeling of domination at this stage of the technique performance, that you become tempted to address your natural desire to press onto uke. Be patient with your actions. Remember about the circular movement which substitutes the head of uke with their elbow for unbalance and further rotation. If the concepts presented in the avoided intentions part of this lesson were not persuasive enough for you. Consider counteractions, which are possible in cases you do not follow the SAA sequence of movements of the Nikkyo technique. Countering Nikkyo is possible if you ignore the offered principles of the technique performance. When you train with your partner, use these counteractions to point on the mistakes and help your partner improve their Nikkyo. With our approach, you will jump to the next quality level of your Nikkyo control performance. Sometimes you can see Nikkyo performance right from the front position without any relocation movement. Such Nikkyo may be effective from the first view, but it has one major limitation, which is easy counteraction for such attempt to press on the wrist joint. If Nage does not rotate in the Tenkai movement in order to take the position for the Nikkyo performance and try to perform the technique right from the place where they stand, you simply raise the structure of your arm up to the top position to prevent the intended influence onto your wrist joint. It happens due to the fact that Nage in such a case does not perform conditioning for the Nikkyo, which is arm structure absorption we considered earlier in this lesson. When setting their hands up for the Nikkyo squeeze, with the right timing, you have an opportunity to extend such action to the top, where they will not have any leverage to influence your wrist joint, and you will have time for the grip neutralization maneuver. If Nage simply wants to hurt you with the technique, their intentions are wrong. Such wrong intentions will always give you an opportunity to counter their actions. Nage with wrong intentions is no longer Nage, but simply a natural person trying to struggle with you. Use an opportunity to take them down in such a case. When performing rotation, at different stages within the Tenkai rotation, Nage may hurry and press down onto your wrist joint. It will create a dangerous pressure on your joint and must be avoided in your practice. Nevertheless, the effect will take place and make you go down, but it will also give you an opportunity to lift your elbow up and allow you to move behind to perform a takedown. Regardless of the effect on your wrist, Nage did not have the right position and the right direction of influence to control your body, rather than making a painful effect on your wrist joint. Be aware of this detail to be protected and help your partner improve their technique. The control of Aikido is not a submission or an ultimate control of uke. This is a message delivery, not an action of punishment. When you perform the control squeeze in the seiza position, be brief and persuasive. If you are long, you will never deliver the right message, but rather do the opposite. Long influence onto the wrist joint will create a natural desire in uke to escape from the pain. And I will show how. There are two ways to escape from the wrong control. The first one is rolling in myokami. You curve your torso away from uke. Bend your arm and raise your pelvis to roll over the exposed shoulder. The second way to escape the wrong control is to climb over the uke with the same mechanics, if Maya Ukemi is not possible. Point your partner on their mistakes to help them improve their understanding of the Nikkyo control. And the understanding is this. Technically, you cannot be long because you either maintain the level of the tension or increase the pressure. In each case, you are messaging uke the idea of looking for the ways to escape, which will most probably be realized. Being brief and persuasive delivers the right message. The key is what uke feels when you influence them. What they must feel is that you are very serious with your pressure execution. This seriousness or persuasiveness results from your body structure application, which works as the transitional mechanism of the power of the center. They feel the potential of the squeeze due to the correct influence. They feel you can even increase the pressure, but you choose not to. It makes them think about it. Why did you choose not to? This is how the symbolism of delivering the message in the practice becomes real application in the technique performance. In order to make the Nikkyo sequence of movements more natural for you, you can perform several drills. In these drills, the Nikkyo technique will be combined with other movements we have got acquainted with in the first section of the basic positions and movements. In the lesson number 10, you performed an exercise called inside turn for entrance. Refer to this lesson for more details regarding the inside turn, because in this lesson we'll perform inside turn for Nikkyo. In Aihanni Katata Tori situation, you curve the attack line to merge with uke. Instead of entering for Irimi, you rotate in the opposite direction for Tenkan. This is actually the first part of the Tenkan movement, which is Tenkai without the foot relocation movement. When you rotate to take the strategic position, you keep absorbing the arm structure of uke, providing for the required tension. When you switch from inside turn to Tenkai rotation, you must be sensitive enough not to stop uke or disturb their way of movement. What they feel concerning their position must not change. Such conditioning for uke's arm structure provides you with the ability to turn their wrist and take the strategic position with the rotation. Inside turn, proper switch to Tenkai with the continuous arm extension, and then you proceed to the standard sequence of the Nikkyo technique. After the backward step and performing the Nikkyo control, you find yourself in the strategically dominated position, possessing technical control over uke. The control is provided by your position, wrist joint control, and also the forearm control. Remember that your supportive arm structure goes under the arm structure of uke. This supportive arm provides uke's elbow from going down. Imagine that you allow this uke's elbow to go down, or for any reason you lose the control of the supportive arm. Their elbow goes down and they are ready to get up. You cannot prevent uke from getting up in this case. The only thing you have now is your correct positioning and closeness to uke. In such a case, aim for the elbow to perform the Tenkan rotation. You do not grab or pull the elbow. You lead the elbow in the direction of the forearm, according to all the instructions you can find in the lesson number 9 of the basic positions and movement section. If you consider Aihanmi Katatatori as a form of an attack, you have to understand that most probably this forearm grip is only the means to accomplish another goal, which can be a punch, another grip, choke, or a takedown. Therefore, you need to act immediately when the forearm grip is taking place. There is nothing to wait for, and in any case, the procedure of the Nikkyo performance is the same. Our techniques of Aikido do not rely on speed of execution. Acting immediately means starting the technique performance. It does not refer to the speed of the technique execution. Speed requires experience. The lack of skills gives freedom to the natural reflexes, which cause struggle. With the practice, you will realize that correct performance also provides you with the control of timing within the procedure of technique execution. Your illusionary necessity of rapid execution caused by your anxiety and lack of skill also dilutes the efficiency of control by increasing the participation of muscle strength in the performance. Correct positioning and body structure application save us time and energy to reach our goals of merging and leading an aggressor. Concerning the practical application of the Aikido techniques, the reality comes from your understanding of the conflict situation. This is a very broad area to be clarified in our further lessons. But as far for now, regarding your possible concern about the practical application of your Aikido techniques as self-defense instrument, you need to pay attention to your perception of danger coming from an attacker to initiate your Aiki reaction. This pressure coming from danger changes much in your general state and addresses to your natural reflexes, which put under risk your new behavioral patterns. Make effort to imagine yourself in a dangerous situation while mastering Aikido techniques in your training sessions in order to reveal a hidden problem. Danger, which you realize with the attack in your training session, must serve as an incentive to perfect your technique. You cannot ignore any principles, sequence, or details of the technique in case of real danger. Also, danger realization in your training may increase your sensitivity for certain details you would not consider important otherwise. This is how you make your Aikido practical. Any Aikido technique presented here is the result of certain attitude. This is the key to understanding why we perform the techniques the way we do. When you manage to obtain the strategic position and basically the domination over an aggressor, you will most probably face a great temptation to use your domination position according to your natural desires, to impose punishment with an Aikido technique. Be aware not to become an aggressor. This is the reason for failure. Let them feel with the perfection of your technique that you could hurt them, but you choose not to. It leads to change and becomes the solution. Remember, you can perform Aikido techniques only in case if your intentions are different from those of an aggressor. Otherwise, Aikido techniques do not exist for you. Forgive and look for conflict neutralization, for conflict resolutions, because the reality is harmony.